thank you so much for joining me today on this conversation about your movie. See you then. I'm really excited to talk about it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So just so our viewers know, I am on the line currently with Marl Walker, Pooya Mohseni, and Lynn Chen. Mari is the director of See You Then, and Pooya plays Kris in the movie, and Lynn plays Naomi. So I also, before we start, I wanted to congratulate you guys on the film screening at South by Southwest. That must be really exciting for everyone.
So excited. It's literally a dream come true. I always had hoped that we would get an opportunity for me to have a film at Southwest. And actually, we met our producer and our production company at South by back in 2015. So it's sort of coming back home.
Wow. Well, nice to see it all come full circle. That's excellent. So Mari, let's start with you. For people who are maybe just now hearing about the film or kind of interested in it, can you give us a brief synopsis on what the movie is about?
Sure. Well, I have a law that I've finally memorized, which is a decade after abruptly breaking up with Naomi, Kris are to dinner to discuss their complicated lives, relationships, and Kris's transition. And over the course of one day, they engage in a series of increasingly intimate and vulnerable conversations until a shocking truth is revealed. So hopefully that sort of covers it.
That covers it.
So,
very,
good.
very,
Sweet.
very to the point. I like it. Lynn and Pooya, I'm curious at how you got involved with this project and what drew you to it. Let's start with Lynn.
I came about this project the way I come about most of my projects, which was an audition. I was sent the script and the sides and a link to Mari's short for interest. And I read and was like, yes, I want to audition for this right away. When I showed up to my audition, I saw that it took place at Vanishing Angle, the production company office. And I was wondering why it sounded so familiar. And I found out when I arrived that it was where I had filmed a scene for my own directorial debut that was at South by Southwest last year, I Will Make You Mine. And so I thought, this is a really good sign. I feel very comfortable in this room. And it immediately put me at ease. You know, I came from a place where I was really wanting this part, and I did not want to reek of desperation when I walked into the room. But it immediately made me feel like, oh, maybe we're more like colleagues than I think. You know, this is not Mari with all of the power giving me a yes or a no, but more of like, Mari, we're fellow female first-time director. Maybe we can help each other. And I think that helped me relax me a lot. And so that's how I ended up coming to find this project. And I'm really thankful that I was cast.
How I came to be in this project was kind of different than how it usually happens. I got an email asking me to be in it from a casting office in LA saying, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm writing you on behalf of Marl Walker. And there was also a personal letter of Mari's that was attached to the email along with the script. And Marl had said that she had seen my work at a festival a couple of years prior, and she really thought that I would be the right person to play the role of Kris. So at first I turned the email to my agents because I thought somebody was playing a really bad prank on me, because how else would I just get this? Like, yes, please come and be the lead in my feature film. My agents checked it out and they realized that it was not a prank. So then I read the script twice, and I felt very invested even at that point. I gasped for air, I cried, I sobbed, I couldn't wait to see what happens at the end of the story. And by the second time, I emailed back and I said that I would love to, and I would love to actually Skype with Marl, and I did. And we really bonded over that Skype session. It felt like we both had the same vision. Then I was brought to LA in December of 2019 for the chemistry reads for the final choices for the actresses who were possibly going to play Naomi. And Lynn was the first person that I met when I walked into the waiting room, and I introduced myself and I shook her hand and we went shaking hands. Well, that was a pre-COVID thing. And, you know, it's like we shook hands and then we did the work. I just loved And I remember that I said, it's like, I just love what she did, her vulnerability, just seeing those colors. But we auditioned the other people. I stayed true to the fact that I thought that she was like, just knowing that we were going to be on that journey. And when she was confirmed as that person and we started the rehearsal process and I came to LA and we shot, it was just, everybody was on board, not just the writers and the director and the DP. Everybody was on board, including um the everybody in the crew and catering. It was like something, some mission that everybody was as invested as the person next to them, and that was just a dream coming true, step by step.
That's so awesome. I like how organic it sounds, like everything came together. It just sounds like it was meant to be. I do want to say bravo to both you, Pooya and Lynn, for your performances in the movie. It is very raw and very emotional and very very involved. I mean, the movie is pretty much the conversation between you two. That's the bulk of the film, and so it's on your shoulders to keep it engaging and interesting. And I think the dynamic you two had was fantastic. So well done on that. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess on the subject of these characters, the film is very detailed about the lives and backgrounds of these characters as they were as individuals and as they were in a relationship. Mari, I'm interested in what the inspiration for writing and making this film was, and how you developed the characters the way that they ended up turning out.
Well, it's been a dream of mine since sophomore in high school, that I've wanted to direct a feature. But everything I had written up until that point was like a space movie or an action thriller, or, all these things that are very far outside of the exceeds of anybody's first time filmmaking budget, much less somebody who's trans and biracial. But so I felt like it'd be really neat to sort of dig my teeth into something where I would really have to work with actors, that I have to work on dialogue, which at the time I didn't feel like was my strong suit. So a lot of that influenced the structure of what the story was, but then the actual themes really came from my own life and my co-writer Kristen Uno, her life as well, and the idea of trying to define womanhood and femininity and what does it mean to be a mother, what does it mean to try to find a work-life balance, and all these different sort of challenges. And we sort of use the script as a form of art therapy to kind of get all these feelings out into the world. And then throughout time, the characters started to develop. One of the things that Kristen is a big fan of is reading the script out loud. And I, as much as I've been doing interviews about the film for the past few days, I hate hearing my own voice. So it was very grating, and it was like, oh, it's punishing. And so we'd read it out. She'd often play Naomi, and I'd often play Kris. And she said that she felt like she knew the script was ready when at the end, when they have their final scene together, I was reading the character of Kris, and I started getting so emotionally engaged. I started going off script, and I would just start adding lines and throwing them at her in this really probably vicious way. My poor co-writer and producer, just torturing her. But she said after we did that session, she's like, I think it feels ready now, because it feels like the best thing that we could do now is take it to performers who would be able to go and add in that nuance, add in those beats, add in that specificity that we as writers just had no concept of. And then they took it and they ran. I mean, there's so much of the script that the basis of the script is there, but all the character building that Pooya and Lynn brought to it just made the story flourish. I'm just so grateful.
Yeah, like I said, everything it turned out very well and very very effective. I think that climactic scene that you're talking about, man, the first time I watched it, I was not expecting that, but at the same time, the character, it's a natural way for these particular characters to have gone, having now understood the nature of their relationship and their lives and everything. So yeah, the way that the story developed, the performances that were put into the characters leading up to that climactic scene was very well developed. And I think this is also an important story for perspective. and offering perspectives of life from people that are different from you, and you just don't. I know for me watching it, there was so much that was like, oh, I didn't think about that, or oh, that's a way I hadn't looked at womanhood or how people are treated and things like that. And I think that that's so important in art and entertainment to be able to convey, and it was done so well in here. And see you there. So Lynn and Pooya, having explained all that, I'm interested in what the biggest challenge it was, if any, in portraying these characters. And maybe a second part to that question, what was the most satisfying part of your roles? Maybe we can start with Pooya on this one.
Sure. I think the challenge is you want to make sure that the character is as full as can be. For me, my concern was I didn't want the character to be me. Because I realized that the way this character engages with the world around them is different than how I do it. So I try to bring in the little nuances that if this person sees the world that way, how do they speak? What is their relationship with their voice? Because also, for a trans person, that's just the reality. How am I heard by other people? How do I feel about my right to exist, to be here at the table, to engaging? How do I feel about what I've done? How do I walk? How do I dress? And that was interesting for me because I was also completely open to this character not being glamorous at all. And that was exciting for me because I didn't want it to be, oh, this is just Pooya, just in a different wardrobe and different haircut. That was not what I wanted. And I started with something very simple. I'm like, I want to kind of like get a haircut that makes this person look different than I do. And what does this person wear? And how do they sit? And how do they look at this other person who they've had this relationship that they've kind of wronged and now they're back? And it all came down to how does this person from inside out, how do they see themselves? How do they see the world? Their level of fear and timidity and guilt and all of those things. So that was challenging because I wanted it to be authentic and not something that I was putting on. I'm like, oh, this person is afraid or this person feels guilt. But to see what makes them laugh, what makes them chuckle, what makes the little sparkle in their eye. And that was challenging in a way that I think trying to create any full character would be. But so far as the people around and my amazing co-star, that was an absolute privilege to have someone there that we've got each other's backs and we can go as far as we want because the other person isn't just sitting there and saying like, okay, are you done with your take? And that was not the feel. And when you feel that, then you are fully open to play. When your director gives you that permission, when your co-star gives you that permission, then all what one would call issues to tackle and the challenges, then you know that you're not alone in doing it. So it was amazing. It intense, but an amazing experience.
Evelyn, what do you think?
My biggest challenge with this was we filmed this the day after I finished filming another movie and that I was starring in, and I already have issues memorizing lines. So I was like, how am I going to do this? Not only do I have all the lines from this other movie that I'm #1 on the call sheet for, but I have to memorize all these other lines and switch to night shoots. And I have less than 12 hours to shift into that. How am I going to do this? So that was an actual, like, just a physical, very boring challenge, logistical challenge. But once I got those lines down, then I just like felt really free. And if anything, it was just sort of like, I also could see just how nurturing this environment was going to be with Mari and with Pooya and with the entire crew, that it was sort of just like, oh, we get to play. This is not more work. This is not like I have to do something. This is like I get to do something that is really supportive and fun. And now that I have the lines down, it'll be, everything is great. So that was the most challenging and the most rewarding part about it, because it did feel like a playground.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the reasons I can't be an actor, besides the fact I can't act, is that memorizing lines is probably something I wouldn't be great at. So, but good for you for overcoming that challenge and making it happen and having a good time with it. It really does seem like you guys had a great time in this movie and just played these roles really well. Bringing it to a close, Mari, I'm gonna start with you on this one, but this is a question for all of you to kind of weigh in on. What kind of impact do you want this film to have on audiences, or maybe what do you want audiences to take away from this movie?
I hope that the intent of the film was to tell a story about these two characters, but also to tell a very universal story. That even if you're not trans or Iranian American or Asian American, or a woman, that you'd be able to understand the feelings of regret and loss, and the feelings of guilt for hurting another person, or that choice that you made ages ago that still seems to have ramifications to now. I think that the beauty of cinema is in communication, and it's in our ability to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. And I hope that somebody could watch this film and walk away from it and gain a greater appreciation for the fact that, like, even if we all look different, we all experience the same feelings and we all experience the same emotions. And you know, that's really what I hope people will come away with at the end of the film.
Yeah, Pooya, what do you think?
I would like to think of it in two ways. One, how does the industry see this? I would like the industry to see that you can have a trans character and their story not being about having surgery or about coming out. That you can have a trans character and they can be trans, and, you know, with all the things that happens with that type of a storyline, but that there's just a wider scope of storytelling that you can do. So that's on the industry. And the audience part, well, the audience, you know, there are going to be people who are going to personally identify, which I hope it makes them feel seen, that their stories are being told, that they're not alone, and that they're appreciated enough for somebody to want to make a story to represent them. But also people at large who may not know that they know a trans person or a queer person in general, that they can look at this and say, oh, this is a human story. It just this happens to be this particular vein of a human story. If there's a woman's story, you're not going to say, oh, this is a hysterectomy story because the woman has a hysterectomy. It's a woman's story, and that's a part of it. And I would like to think that the audience can look at this and like, oh, these are two women. They knew each other. Now this is where they are. And so it's their story. It has guilt, it has shame, it has joy, it has anger and resentment and feeling lost. And like Mari was saying, there's a universality about that, and I hope that people get to see that.
I was really lucky. 15 years ago, I was in a movie called Saving Face that changed Asian American lesbian cinema, in that we were the first to be in a studio film in leading character roles. And I still hear from people on a regular basis of all ages about how the movie helped them feel seen, how it helped them come out to their parents, and how they studied it in their Asian American or gender studies courses. And of course, when we were making the movie, I didn't think of any of those things. And I feel very similar to this movie. You know, Pooya is the first Iranian American trans lead in an indie film. That's history. I don't think that the combination of the both of us on screen has been done before, and that will make an impact. I know it will. I know it will, because maybe it's not going to make the impact. I mean, I'm hoping it will. That's my hope. Maybe it won't have the impact that like will shatter any ceilings, but for people personally, I know that it will. I know it will because I've seen it happen. And I know for me, and I'm sure this is true for Mari and Pooya also, that just one person, it means so much to know that you have changed one person's life just by showing them that your story is important and we see you.
That's great. Yeah, I understand where all of you are coming from there, and I hope that audiences feel the same way that you guys do about this story, this movie, and you know how it comes across. It really is a well done film, and you know, again, I congratulate you guys on getting it done, getting it out there, and getting it to South by Southwest. So I hope that a lot of people watch it. I'm going to recommend that myself. And you know, I'm wishing the best for the success of this film and a long lifespan that hopefully does reach people in that personal way that you're all talking about. So anyway, I will bring it to a close there. Thank you again, Mari, Pooya, and Lynn for joining me on this conversation, and you know, good luck this week with South by Southwest and all your other future endeavors.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
Thanks.